Ring. An alarm clock clanged in the dark and silent room. A bed spring creaked. A woman's voice sang out impatiently. Bigger, shut that thing off. A surly grunt sounded above the tinny ring of metal. Naked feet swished dryly across the planks in the wooden floor, and the clang ceased abruptly. Turn on the light, Bigger. All right, came a sleepy mumble. Light flooded the room and revealed a black boy standing in a narrow space between the two iron beds, rubbing his eyes with the backs of his hands. From a bed to his right, the woman spoke again. Buddy, get up from there. I got a big washing on my hands today, and I want you all out of here. Another black boy rolled from the bed and stood up. The woman also rose and stood in her nightgown. Turn your head so I can dress, she said. The two boys averted their eyes and gazed into a far corner of the room. The woman rushed out of her nightgown and put on a pair of step-ins. She turned to the bed from which she had risen and called, Vera, get up from there. What time is it, Mom? Asked the muffled adolescent voice from beneath the quilt. Get up from there, I say. Okay, Mom. A bronze-skinned girl in a cotton gown got up and stretched her arms above her head and yawned. Sleepily, she sat on a chair and fumbled with her stockings. The two boys kept their faces averted while her mother and sister put on enough clothes to keep them from feeling ashamed. And the mother and the sister did the same while the boys dressed. Abruptly, they all paused, holding their clothes in their hands, their attention caught by a light tapping on the thinly plastered walls of the room. They forgot their conspiracy against shame, and their eyes strayed apprehensively over the floor. There he is again, Bigger! The woman screamed, and the tiny one-room apartment galvanized into violent action. The chair toppled as the woman, half-dressed in her stocking feet, scrambled breathlessly upon the bed. Her two sons, barefoot, stood tense and motionless, their eyes searching anxiously under the bed and chairs. The girl ran into a corner, half-stooped, and gathered her hem of her slip in her hands and held it tightly over her knees. Oh, she wailed. There he goes! The woman pointed a shaking finger. Her eyes were round with fascinated horror. Where? I don't see him. Bigger, he's behind the trunk, the girl whimpered. Vera! The woman screamed. Get up here on the bed! Don't let that thing bite you! Frantically, Vera climbed upon the bed, and the woman caught hold of her. With her arms entwined about each other, the black mother and the brown daughter gazed open-mouthed at the trunk in the corner. Bigger looked around the room wildly, then darted to a curtain and swept it aside and grabbed two heavy iron skillets from a wall above the gas stove. He whirled and called softly to his brother, his eyes glued to the trunk. Buddy. Yeah, take the skillet. Okay. Now get over by the door. Okay. Buddy crouched by the door and held the iron skillet by its handle. His arm flexed and poised, save for the quick, deep breathing of the four people. The room was quiet. Bigger crept on tiptoe toward the trunk with the skillet clutched stiffly in his hand, his eyes dancing and watching every single inch of the wooden floor in front of him. He paused, without moving an eye or a muscle, called, Buddy. Huh? Put that box in front of the hole so he can't get out. Okay? Buddy ran to a wooden box and shoved it quickly in front of the gaping hole in the molding and then backed again to the door, holding the skillet ready. Bigger eased to the trunk and peered behind cautiously. He saw nothing. Carefully, he stuck out his bare foot and pushed the trunk a few inches. There he is! The mother screamed again. A huge black rat squealed and leaped at Bigger's trouser leg and snagged its teeth, hanging on. God damn! Bigger whispered fiercely, whirling and kicking his leg with all the strength of his body. The force of his movement shook the rat loose, and it sailed through the air and struck a wall. Instantly, it rolled over and leaped again. Bigger dodged the rat and landed against the table leg. With clenched teeth, Bigger held this skillet. He was afraid to hurl it, fearing that he might miss. The rat squeaked and turned and ran into a narrow circle, looking for a place to hide. It leaped again past Bigger and scurried on dry, rasping feet to one side of the box and then to the other, searching for the hole. Then it turned and reared upon its hind legs. "Hit him, Bigger!" Buddy shouted. "Kill him!" the woman screamed. The rat's belly pulsed with fear. Bigger advanced a step, and the rat emitted a long, thin song of defiance, its black, beady eyes glittering, its tiny 4 feet pawing the air restlessly. Bigger swung the skillet. It skidded over the floor, missing the rat, and clattered to a stop against the wall. "God damn!" The rat leaped. Bigger sprang to one side. The rat stopped under a chair and let out a furious scream. Bigger moved slowly backward toward the door. "Give me that skillet, buddy," he asked quietly, not taking his eyes from the rat. Buddy extended his hand. Bigger caught the skillet and lifted it high in the air. The rat scuttled across the floor and stopped again at the box and searched quickly for the hole. Then it reared once more and bared long yellow fangs, piping shrilly, belly quivering. Bigger aimed and let the skillet fly with a heavy grunt. There was a shattering of wood as the box caved in. The woman screamed and hid her face in her hands. Bigger tiptoed toward it and peered. "I got him." His clenched teeth bared in a smile.